Here you go.
Is it success?
Or not?
Hello, Colette.
Hi, Paul. It's Colette. How are you?
Yeah, well, thanks.
Sorry, we're a bit late. Just had a bit of trouble dialing in, that's all.
Oh, not late at all. We haven't started yet, but we will in a very, very short period of time.
All right, can you see us? Because we can't actually see you, but we can hear you.
Yeah, look, I can see you. I haven't.
All right.
I'll share some stuff shortly. So.
Thank you.
Let's get some of us.
Well, has she got a computer?
Yes.
Well, welcome everyone. This is our first VC for term 3. I should just highlight a couple of things that the VC has been recorded. There's a few people that wanted to get access to it who can't be here this afternoon. So please just keep in mind that it is being recorded. Please can you keep your mic muted unless you want to ask a question. But by all means ask as many questions as you like. I've shared the Google slide that I'm going to use to present from, and you'll see in that there's a back channel, todaysmeet.com/Google_101. So if you don't want to feel like a bit of a goose, please feel free. I'll try to jump back there from time to time and see if anyone's asked a question. That's really there for those who want to do this anonymously. So the important thing as we go through this afternoon is that you ask as many questions. Hopefully I won't make any assumptions. It is Google 101, so it's Google Docs for beginners. And with the VC, I'm also a beginner. So if I get it wrong, just let me know. So with that, we might make a start. And I'm hoping you can all see the screen. Is that all good? You can see the slideshow?
Yep. We could at one stage, but we can't see it now here and below.
All right, let's have a look. Right, all good now?
Yes, thank you.
Right. So look, that's what I'm hoping to get through this afternoon. It depends on what sort of questions we're getting from people, what bits and pieces you don't know. The other thing is where there are more than one people at a centre, if you could go through and provide some peer tutoring, that would be very much appreciated. A bit hard in centres where there's only one person on the VC, but if you can provide some help to your fellow teachers, that would be great. So that's what we're hoping to go through. Looking at Chrome, because Chrome's the tool that we normally use with Google. Opening of docs, so it's pretty much limited to docs for today. Looking at going through and using the docs then, the notion of sharing and collaboration, looking at add-ons and extensions, and where you might go from here to get some extra assistance with Google Docs. So let's just continue. And please, as I said, please feel free to chime in at any point. So one of the questions that I asked was how technology, and we did have a number of people respond to that survey before we started. And you can see, just by way of reassuring everyone, that 57.1% said they're somewhere in the middle. They're not hopeless with Google Docs or with technology, but they're certainly not power users. So the bulk of people sit in that orange area, and I guess that's where I've aimed what we're doing this afternoon. So let's have a look then. The notion of logging into Chrome. How many people have difficulty logging into Chrome? Can I get a bit of an indication just with a thumbs up or anything from around the centres? Is everyone comfortable logging in with Chrome? Yeah, mostly. All right. One thing I would like to show you is this. Because we often have a difficulty with sharing of documents, is the notion of doing stuff with an account other than your ROK account, so your ROK credentials that you have. So if you have another account and you want to log in with that, the easiest way to do it is to go through and set that up in Chrome. So if we go to the settings, Now you find that with the hamburger icon, which is in the top right-hand corner of your Chrome browser. 3 horizontal bars, one on top of the other. Everyone familiar with that? If you're not, just give a hoy. So if you're able to see my screen, hopefully you can see it there on the right-hand side. But if we come down to settings, you'll see that allows you to go through and add another user. So I've got my Paul_Rayner account, but I've also got another account that I've used for 10 or 15 years or so. And that contains a lot of stuff where I subscribe to various forums, and I want to get access to that through the day, but I don't want to have to keep jumping in and out of accounts. So I can come through in settings and say add another person. I can put the person's name here. So my username for that is Basil60. I can pick an icon if I like. Click on add, and that means when I finish doing that, it's going to pull through a separate account, and you can see right at the top here that now says Paul, well, it doesn't say Paul_Rayner anymore, it says Basil60. If I minimize that, here's the rest of my account. This is my Paul_Rayner at rok.catholic.edu. But I can get access to the other one simply by going down into my taskbar, and there's the extra account. So from in here, when I log into that fully, then to log into this, if I go to Google, which is, so I've still got to log in to the ROK account as I would normally do. We've got to do that as part of Zscaler authentication, and I guess everyone might be aware that all schools will have full Zscaler authentication coming up in the near future. So those few schools that have done it silently or invisibly will now have to do it normally. So this is my Basil60. So if I want to sign into that, I've got to go through and put in my credentials. So prainer.basil@gmail.com. Put in my password. Right. So there's my other avatar. And so I can then just, by doing that, slip between the two accounts without having to sign in and out. Does that all make sense? Now, the reason I've gone through that is we see lots and lots of people who, as we go through and provide documents to them, say that they can't see the document, and it's because they're logged in as something other than an ROK user. So if I shared those documents which I've shared with you today, and you were signed in as something other than ROK, like if I sign in as prainer.basil@gmail.com, I'd get access denied because it's only shared between the users of Catholic education. Does that all make sense? Is that good for people? If it's not, just give me a hoy and let me know. Given that we've got about 9 centres and 33 people, the icons are all pretty small. So as I say, if it doesn't make sense, if you can let me know. All right. So let's have a look then. So if we want to get into Google Docs, there's a number of ways to go about doing that. My preferred way, when I've logged in, so you've got to log in through the portal, and I think this is the preferred way. So the portal is probably the first page it's going to open when you log in of a morning. If you go down then to Education and Cloud Desktop, that should then authenticate you, and as long as you don't close that, you'll then have permissions to go to whatever web page. You shouldn't need then to sign in on a regular basis, keep putting your account information in. So you won't have to constantly authenticate. So that's where I'd be going. So on the portal, come down to Education, go to Cloud Desktop. That will allow you to sign in through Zscaler. And as long as you don't close that or ping 1, the next window that opens, Zscaler should authenticate you for all your web activity that you do on that particular session until you close it. So from there, if I was going to try to access my Google Drive, I'd simply type in drive.google.com. Now, that takes me straight to my Google Drive. Now, I know that's not the way everyone does it. It's the way I do it because, to me, it makes sense. So if I want to go to Docs, I'd type in docs.google.com. Or if I want to go to Google Keep, it's keep.google.com. So there's a format that works for it, keep.google.com. And it will take me straight to Google Keep. If you've never used Google Keep, that's a sticky note that's shareable, and it's web-based, so you can take it wherever you go. Now, as I said, that's not the way everyone goes about getting into it. So I'll show you the other 2 ways if you haven't already sussed that out. So once you're in your Chrome browser, you'll see over in the left-hand side, you've got the apps icon, which is the 9 squares multicolored in the Google pattern. If we click that, you can then come into here and go to Google Drive, and that will take you straight to Google Drive where you can start accessing the files that you have in Google Drive. If that's not enough and you still want another way, so if you go to google.com, you'll see that you've got another apps icon here, this time up in the top right hand corner. If you click that, that brings you to the menu that allows you to go through and choose what part of Google you want to go to. So you want to go to Drive, you want to go to Slides, you want to go to Forms, Sites. These, of course, can all be rearranged if you want, simply by dragging them around. So you can put the ones that you use most at the top. You can even drag them from this part of the window. So if YouTube's something that you want, drag it up and put it at the top. So you can drag those around. So there's 3 ways of getting into Google Drive. Now, I hope as I'm going through this that you're either giving it a whirl, so you can say to me, hang on, that's not working for me. I need you to be trying it. That's why I ask you to bring your laptops with you. Right? So you can use this apps icon here. You can use the apps icon over in your menu bar, the one on the left-hand side, or you can simply type in drive.google.com and get to where you need to be. Any questions there that anyone has? Still no questions on the back channel there? These notes, this slideshow that I've given you, hopefully it will take you back to anything later on if you forget, so that you can go through and check it out. All right, so we're within Google then, the Omnibox versus the search bar. When I've been in schools over the last few weeks, I'm amazed at the number of kids who tend to use the search bar and don't use the Omnibox. So the Omnibox is this part right up the top here. In olden days, we probably would have called that the address bar. And in the Google window, we'd call this the search bar. But the address bar in Google now is so much more. Right? So in Google, you can also see, and I guess it's no different to other browsers like Safari, Firefox, Internet Explorer, Edge. You can see that you've got some information up here. So in this case, I've got a lock that tells me that it's a secure network, that it's HTTPS, which is again the secure protocol, the SSL protocol rather than the HTTP protocol. And this is what you'd be looking to see when you're on internet banking or anything where you need to be putting in confidential information into your browser. So if it's internet banking, you'd want to see that there's a lockup here. You'd want to see that you're on HTTPS rather than anything else. So the Omnibox in Google allows you to go through and type stuff, but I'm amazed at the number of kids who, if you ask them to go to a URL, say for example Tinker, www.tinker.com, who wouldn't put that up there in the Omnibox, they would put it straight into the search engine. So I think that's worth explaining to kids the difference between the Omnibox and the search bar. Of course, in the Omnibox, you can also search for things. So if you want to search for Tinker, you can just type it straight up the top in the Omnibox, and that will then open Google as a search engine and show you where to go and get stuff. And that's why it's called an Omnibox rather than an address bar, because it now does a whole range of things more than just getting the address. It's designed to make it a lot easier for people to get where they need to be. Right, everyone good with that? A few blank looks from the distant people I can see there. Some information there too that, simply from an IT perspective, for those who are going down the digital technologies route, SSL, the secure network that we use there, uses port 443. Our normal protocol of HTTP uses port 80. Okay, let's have a look at Docs offline. So we're going to get into Google Docs in a minute, but to save using the internet all the time, our Google Docs can of course be constructed offline. So to get to those, if you come down the bottom to your Windows Explorer icon, which is on the laptops, looks like a big folder. If you click that, and if you could follow along with me, most people probably should have this set up. Where do we want to go then? But we want to locate Google in there. So if we click on C drive, so is that going to... Why isn't mine showing there? Epic fail number 1. Just see if it's going to load. No, mine's not going to load there at the moment. But you should see down the side, no, sorry, we can't go there. We need to go to the start window for us and go to all programs. So if we can just rewind that, start button is the Windows icon down the very, very bottom left-hand corner. If you scroll down, you'll see Google Drive on our network here. And under that, then you'll see Google Drive. So that's going to open up in a minute. This may cause a few problems for me because if it starts doing its thing, it will chew up some more resources on my computer. But this is where you should get to. So I can then sign in with my credentials, Paul_Rayner at rock.catholic.edu.au. Make sure that's all right. Next. You'll have to sign in again. and maybe have to do it more than once. Right, so once it does that, it'll go through and check, it'll authenticate you. Hopefully it won't take too long. And what it's going to do then is it's going to start downloading any of your files. If you haven't signed into this before, it'll start downloading your files, which is what I'm going to try to avoid, because my computer is not running as well as it could. And so if I start downloading files, it's going to do all sorts of things. You can control what it syncs. So you can set up whether it syncs just 1 or 2 folders or syncs your whole Google Drive. What that does is allow you to bring the files down onto your drive. You'll access them via that start menu again. You can work on the files offline. And then when you click on your sync icon, you'll be able to sync them back and forth to the cloud from your computer or from the cloud back to your computer. So that's going to be pretty handy, particularly if you're in an area where your internet is not necessarily all that great. If you're on just a 20 meg link or smaller, it will allow you to do what you need offline and then just upload when you press the sync button, which is down in your taskbar on the right hand side. You'll see a drive icon appear down in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, and you probably won't have seen that before. Can I just ask, how many people haven't used that before? Can I get a bit of an indication? So everyone's used it. Am I telling you to suck eggs there? No, it's all good? All right, so I'm going to stop this because I don't want to have that wasting too much time and wasting too much in the way of resources. Question?
Do you want him to continue? Keep going.
Just continue.
All right.
Paul,
Yes.
John from St. Anne's. So we came in a little bit late because we had something stopped us from logging in. So you've just shown us a number of ways to get into Google Drive, have you?
I showed that before, John. What I was just showing you there is how to use Google Docs offline.
Okay.
Right, so this is being recorded, so you'll be able to grab a hold of this and come back to it. But in short, we go to the Start menu, we go to All Programs, we go to Google Drive, and then when you click the Google Drive icon, that takes you through a wizard that allows you to set up your Google Drive on your local laptop, and you can then sync between the cloud and between your local computer.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. First question. It's great when people chime in because I don't know what's happening out there otherwise. Now, the transition from doing stuff in Microsoft, which I guess many years ago we probably did mostly, to using Google Drive, means that a number of us probably have quite a lot of files that are in Word format, spreadsheets that are in Excel format, PowerPoints that are in PowerPoint format. And I guess a lot of people say, well, what am I going to do with all those? You put them into a Google Docs framework. What do I do with all that other stuff? So here's what we do. So here's some files I prepared earlier. All right, so I'll just drag this out here. So you can see in here that I've got a PDF at the top. I've got a Word document in the new format, DocX. I've got a spreadsheet that's in the XLSX format, and I've got a PowerPoint in the PPTX format. Right. So I'm going to show you how you can deal with those and still use them and work within the Google framework. So here's a folder that I have on Google Drive. and I'm just going to open this folder up called Sample Docs. I'm just going to open this up. So I'm just going to try to do this relatively quickly. So I've selected all these files. Control A would have selected them. I've just dragged around them. Or you can click on them and use Shift Select. So again, a number of ways. So I'm just going to left click on those files with that sitting there, and I'm going to drag them down into this folder and drop them. And then you'll see all those files are being uploaded to Google Drive. Everyone good with that? Does anyone need me to do that again? If you get a chance, if you can try to drag a file in. You'd like me to do it again?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm just going to get rid of these then. So again, I'm just selecting them, control clicking, and in Google Drive, I just click the bin to delete them. Get rid of this. So there you can see, there's the 4 existing files. That's my Google Drive where I want to put them. I'm just clicking on Windows Explorer. So select, 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 select them. And then with a left click over the top of them, I'm just dragging them down onto the interface, and that will allow them to go straight into my Google Drive. Right. Everyone good with that? Anyone not good with it, I should ask. All right, so if I want to open this PDF then, PDF's easy because it's a pretty universal format. You can see there that that PDF opens in Google Drive, opens perfectly so that I can read and do what I need to do. But I can also share it a lot more easily. The top one is a PowerPoint. Right, so if I want to open that, the Google equivalent of PowerPoint is Slides. So I'm just going to right click on it and go Open With and choose Google Slides. Hopefully it won't take too long. And that's going to convert that file from PowerPoint, and you can see the name of it up the top there. It's going to convert it, and there's the PowerPoint ready to roll as a Google Slides presentation. Now the other thing you're probably going to have to do with these is click in the title bar for the program and just backspace and take out any information that references the file extension of PPTX. And there you have a file that's been converted from PowerPoint to Google Slides. Right, so I'm just going to close that. The Excel spreadsheet. I can right click on that, go Open With. It automatically knows that it should be a Google Sheet. And this is now going to open up as a Google Sheets. Same as before, click in the title bar up here, backspace out anything to do with XLX, SX, and there's the spreadsheet in a format now that's recognizable and shareable as a Google Sheet. And lastly, the Word doc. So the Word document, DocX, right click on, Open With, choose Google Docs. And it should open. And you can see that it looks a bit ugly. There's a bit of a problem. Now I think the problem is that the original document, the Word document, was in landscape mode. So if I go File, down to Page Setup, I can change this from Portrait to Landscape. Click OK. And there that comes out now. It's by no means perfect. You can see down the side here that it hasn't dealt with some of the stuff in the table very well, but it could be okay. If it's not, then you can still share the Word document share this Word document here with other people as a Word document. That doesn't matter. The key thing is that we can deal with our files that come from the Windows format or the Office format into Google Drive, and we can do that relatively easily. Now, the transition between Office and Google is often a bit of a problem for people. Has anyone got any questions they want to ask about moving those files from the Office format to the Google format? No? No questions there? All right, well, if everyone's happy, we'll continue. So let's have a look then. So I've got a document here called styles. I'm hoping that most people are familiar with using Doc to the point where they can go through and create a document fairly easily. There's a couple of things I wanted to show you though that I think are relatively important from the perspective of getting kids used to using word processing rather than just typing. So you can see here, this is just some filler text that I've brought in, and I'll show you how I brought that in a little bit later on, if time permits. But you can see here that above each paragraph is what should be a heading. Now, kids will generally, from my perspective, go through and just change that and go through and say, okay, let's make that 24 point. Right, so they go up to the font and just change the size of the font. I'm just going to use Control Z to go back. There's a better way to do that, and that is to select the text that you want to make bigger. You want to make it a heading and actually apply one of the headings that's there already from the box that says normal text. So you can see this box here, and apply a heading of, for example, heading 2. And that applies what we call a style. Now I could go down here, do the same thing. I could choose a heading 3. So these headings are in priority. So heading 1 is the biggest, it's the most important. Heading 2 is smaller, heading 3, heading 4, heading 5, heading 6 progressively gets smaller. So I could do the same here. Select that, go up to normal text and choose heading 2. Control Z. Now, sometimes, I'll just scroll up so you can see that, when you apply that, it doesn't just apply it to the heading, it applies it to the whole paragraph. So just go Control Z. To fix that, what you might need to do is hit Enter or Control Z, or Shift Enter. So Enter or Shift Enter, go back and try it again. Control Z, still not doing it. And I don't know what's wrong with that block of text, but let's try this thing. So the next thing I was going to show you is how to use the Format Painter. So if I select this text here, and I want the format of this text that I'm wanting over here to be the same as down the bottom, I've got what's called a Format Painter or a Paint Format. So if I click on that and paint it across the top, that takes the font back to what I want. Right, so that's the Format Painter. Just showing you that again. So I can take this heading style, go to the Format Painter, I can put it across the top there, and I can paint that format down the page to everywhere where I have a heading of style 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Does that make sense? Anyone got a question about that? So again, I'm hoping you're having a bit of a play with this as we go through. Right. I guess the so what factor comes into here. So you've just shown us that, well, so what? Well, this allows us to go through and do a table of contents. So for a document that you produce or kids produce, you can produce a table of contents reasonably easily. So I want to put all that text on a second page and put my table of contents on the first page. So with my cursor just before the very first bit of typing, if I go Control Enter puts a page break in and pushes everything down the page. Right, so that was Control Enter. If I click back in here now, I should be able to go to Tools. Insert. We want to go to the Insert menu and go to Table of Contents. Now you can see there's the first style that I applied, there's the second, and there's something going on with the rest of it there that I'm just not sure about. So everything after ipsa nobis has got something going on with it. So if I just check and see and there we can see the problem. That's got a heading 2 style applied right across. So if I go here and apply normal text to that, we'll just check this one, see what's going on. Normal text. If I go back up to the top to my headings then, and I go up, in this case, update table of contents. Still don't have enough there, so we'll scroll down, we'll try it again. So that's heading 2, that's normal text. So that's normal text there as well, so we just go through heading 2. Yeah, definitely something wrong with the document here, but we should be able to fix it. Normal text. Let's go through. If something goes wrong, which it's doing here at the moment, despite what I did earlier, we have a button right at the end of our toolbar that says Clear Formatting, and you can go back and use that to just reset everything. So if we click the Clear Formatting, everything should go back to normal. So it's now. So that's heading 2, normal text. Heading 2, still going a bit awry, but we're not going to dwell too long on it. Normal text. So I should get this mostly right now. So I'm going to right click here, update table of contents, and obviously not perfect because this bit of text has gone awry, but that's how we go through and put a table of contents and utilize that the table of contents and styles. So that went a bit wayward there. Has anyone got any questions about using styles or table of contents? I would have thought table of contents, particularly for those people who are doing documents within their schools that are fairly large, might be a fairly useful tool for you. The Format Painter certainly should be something that you could use to quickly apply formats across a range of documents. But if there's no questions, we'll just keep pushing through. All good? Right, the research tool then. So a lot of people would use the research tool. If we go to Tools, in your Word document, in Slides even, you can find it. If you click Research, so Tools, Research, we get this. So if we want to search, for example, and put some images in here, right? Great for really young kids. So we can do an image search. If we just click that little arrow that pops up underneath, you can then go through and say, well, okay, let's only use images that are free to use, share, or modify. So if I want to do a search on owls, for example, these images that are here are all copyright free. So there's no copyright issues at all, and I can simply drag them in. And when I use the research tool, not only does it drag them in copyright free, so I don't have any issues with the kids breaching copyright, but it also puts a footnote in saying exactly where it came from. So even from very young kids, that should be a tool that they can use quite well. If we click back into the search area, so you can search everything. You can search quotes, you can search scholar, you can search dictionary. You can use MLA or APA or Chicago means of referencing. So again, it's a way to make sure that the kids follow all the rules that pertain to plagiarism, which is written out in the ICT capabilities, and it ensures that they give consideration to copyright when they're doing things. The downside of using copyright-free images through here is you might not get as many as you need, but there is that, I guess the upside is that we're not encouraging kids to just go and grab whatever they feel like from Google because they think that there is a open slather on anything that's on Google. If it's on Google, it's free for us to take. That's obviously a notion we need to get through to kids that that's not the way it is. That's the research tool. It's very, very powerful, and you locate it by going to Tools, Research. It opens up a sidebar. Click in the box, and you can choose everything: images, quotes, dictionary, tables, etc. Anyone got any questions they want to fire at me with regard to that? All very quiet. No one has any difficulty running it? Right, very, very quiet. Okay, let's continue then. Sharing of files is an issue that we see a fair bit. So if I want to share this document with you, we open it up in Google Docs, and we go to the Share button. Now, it's probably a good idea to always click the Advanced button so you can see what's going on. So you can see that I've shared this with my alter ego, my prainer.basil account. We can do that. We can share outside the ROK domain. But if you're sharing it with your kids, you can share it with a class just using this method, in which case it will go into their Google Drive. So when you share it, it will go into Google Drive, and instead of seeing it in my drive, they'll see it in Shared with Me. So they need to come into their Google Drive and go to Shared with Me, and you can see some documents that have been shared with me here today. So from Sandra and from Robin, that's where they go until we refile them and put them where we want. So the permissions that you need to know for sharing look like this. So edit, zoom in there so that it's so levels of access. So edit, others can make changes and share a file with others. For a collaborative document, that's obviously the way you'd go so that everyone who has access to that document can do what they need to do. You can share it so others can only comment, which means that they can only go through and put some comments in. So as a teacher, I'm going to reset back to default. You might simply want to be able to go through and comment. So comments are up in the top right-hand corner. Click on comment. You have to click on comment again. And if we highlight the area where we want, and you can write a comment. So you can put your comment The kids can read that. You might write a comment about grammar, about spelling, about structure of the document. Kids can click resolve and that comment will disappear. And that pertains to any document that you've got shared. So that's using the comments. So that's the second method, and view only. So view only is allowing people to view, but they can't make any changes or comments. Now, that's obviously not a bad way to go, particularly if you've got something that you don't want others interfering with. On each of these slides, by the way, you'll see that there's some hyperlinks that will take you to another area. And this one takes you to the make a copy. Now, I'm not sure how many of you accessed the first Google Docs link that I sent to you, but it allowed you not to just open it, but it forced you to make a copy. The way I did that was in the address bar, in the Omni box up here, you'll see that there's a big long URL, docs.google.com/presentation, and so it goes on. And then you see the word edit. So what I did here was I just deleted everything where it said edit, and I typed in the word copy. And when I shared that with you then, it forced you to make a copy of that document. Now, that's a great way, again, if you don't want people fiddling around with your original documents. This URL here about making a copy is a hyperlink where you can go through and follow that after we've done this. So when you share documents, if you're getting kids to share with one another so that they can work collaboratively, they need to use the edit. You can put an email address in here. So I can share it with Paul_Rayner. So the kids would put in their 206 and their ROK Stew domain when they're sharing. You can also share it with the whole class using the email address that you'll find in HAPRA, or you should be able to go through and type in ROK, and then as you do that, there'll be groups there. So here you can see so St Mary's North Rockhampton. So if I go SMNR, St Mary's North Rockhampton, we go space again, and then you can go year 3, year 5, year 6. That will share it with the whole group. So that's a format that you can use right across the whole diocese. So ROK, your school code, so there's a space there, ROK, space, SMNR, SHY, the list goes on, space, and then year 3, year 5, year 2, year 1. That allows you to share it with that group. Any questions? All right, let's move on then so I can just show you a few more things. We've got about 10 minutes to go. Chrome extensions. Can I just see if I can see a show of hands? Anyone not used Chrome extensions? Doesn't know what I'm talking about? Thank you. Right. So you should be able to see here on my toolbar, these are some Chrome extensions that I've got. Let me just show you probably from a teaching perspective, one of the best ones. So this is a website from Mindstorms, so the EV3 robot. If you give it to a kid, you've got images here to distract them, you've got a menu bar here to distract them, you've got some quite small text. Using a Chrome extension, I can take that, I can get rid of all the fluff that's around the outside, and it blows it up into a much bigger text. Right? And that's using this icon up here in the top right hand corner, which is called readability. Now, to get access to those Chrome extensions, this is what we do. I'm going to a new tab just to make it easier. So we go to our apps store, followed by the web store. And you've got to know what you're looking for, but you can search. So I'm going to readability. Click on enter. And you'll see up the top there's apps, which are slightly different. Extensions all appear at the right-hand side of your Omni box. So these are all extensions up here that I use. And you can see that I've already installed it. So if you want to install it, let's use the word count tool just to make it easier. So I would just click the plus button. So, okay, let's add the app. We wait for it to do its thing. It then generally asks us for some permissions, and that's actually put it as an app. So even though it was there, oh, sorry, I didn't read. That's above the thing. So that's an app. I can click on that. And so we have to paste some stuff in there. Now, if you do this and say, well, that's not what I want, and it's not what I want, I can go back into my apps store or to my extension. I can right click and say, let's remove that from Chrome. Right, and now it's gone, not to annoy you again. So back here, let's go to readability. I'll just see if there's anything else there that I can quickly just show you the process of it installing. Let's use this one, readable Wikipedia. Let's add to Chrome. Right, so add the extension. Right, it's downloading, it's doing its thing. Right, so here it is here, and there's my readable Wikipedia. So sometimes they don't do much that's exciting. In other cases they do. So readability, I've just shown you there that readability blows the text up, puts more spacing in. So particularly for kids who might struggle with reading, it's a brilliant extension to use. There's extensions for quick code, QR codes that I use today with some teachers. There's a Google URL shortener, so that if I want to send this off to you, I can just click the Google URL shortener. There it is, it's shortened the URL. I can copy that and then send it off to people as a short URL rather than sending them through something that's really, really long. I've got other things like tab resize. I use this one almost every day, so that if I want to work with two things side by side, it just rearranges my browser and lets me do my thing. Can I jump out of that? I think so. Right. Has anyone got any questions about extensions? Because they really are very, very powerful. Probably the last thing I want to just show you, given the time, are then add-ons. So add-ons have been developed by the open source community for when Google has some shortcomings. So if you're in your Word doc, sorry, your Google doc, you'll see up the top there that you've got a menu icon that says add-ons. And if you want to get some add-ons, you click on Get Add-ons, and it allows you to search for them. Now, the way you're going to find out about these is by listening, by talking to other people, and they will generally show you how to get these. But two ones that I think are really worthwhile. One is the change case. Let me just show you how that works. If anyone's got any questions, now would be a good time to interrupt me and ask. So quite often kids will write a document, and for one reason or another, maybe they make the whole thing uppercase, maybe they don't ever use a capital so that everything is in lowercase. So you can see it here, this is all in lowercase. So if I select the entire file, I can go up to my add-ons. Change case is one of the ones that's there, and I can say, let's put that in sentence case. And in a minute, it will go through and fix that for me. Right? And there you can see now I've got capital, capital. There's other capitals here following the question mark, etc. Now, I'm not suggesting you'd use this instead of a tool to get kids typing properly, but if, for example, they went through and they typed everything in capitals, they put their caps lock on and just went nuts, there's no way to fix that other than restarting the whole process over. The change case tool allows you to do that. In Microsoft Word, we've always had that ability to alter the case, so change from uppercase to sentence case. That's one example of an add-on. Another example of an add-on is, I think this one here. So if you're using forms with your students, with your staff, this was the form I used and I've got rid of the username. This is not in a really readable format, but there's an add-on that says, let's save everything as a document. So if we go to Start, so this is from Google Sheets. Again, it's the same one. Make the heading styles across the top a heading. So heading 4, I chose something relatively small. You need to remember to use the Select All Data button and then Save as Doc. Just scroll down a bit. There's the document that it just generated. And so what it does is it puts everyone's comments on a separate page. So there's page 1, there's page 2. Now, because I'm showing you this, I would not normally have taken out people's names, but it allows you to put it in a format that's readable and you'd see who wrote stuff and what they said. So that's another example of an add-on. And look, there's heaps and heaps of them that really make your work within Google Docs a lot better. So there's Doc to Form, there's that's the lorem generator. So this is a lorem ipsum text, just filler text that I used. You can use lucid charts. You can use mind maps. You can use a word cloud generator. So you can create a word cloud from all the words that I created here. Any questions about that? All right. So guys, look, we're almost at the end. I'm not sure how this has gone for you because, other than John's question, there's not a lot of questions coming through. But the question of where to go from here. So if you're using Google Documents a lot, that's going to be your sure way to make sure that you nail them and you get on top of them. A place that you can go to get some more information is included right here at the end. So GCFL or GCFlearnfree.org is a great repository of all things IT. But this particular one takes you through Google Docs and has some just-in-time videos on how to go about doing all this sort of thing. So you can sit there and watch those videos and make some sense of it. I would suggest that you get yourselves a personal learning network, and that might be Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, other teachers at school where you can get together and perhaps over a cup of coffee of a morning, share something new that you've learned with regard to Google Docs. If you're on Twitter, there's 2 Twitter handles that I would suggest you use. So Google Edu and GAFE, Google Apps for Education, and they will both take you to a whole bunch of people who have great tips that they're sharing regularly on how to use Google Docs and how to get some power out of Google Docs. Something that I haven't missed, I don't suppose, but I was going to hope that you could find it yourselves and work through it, is about naming conventions in Google Drive. I think if you have a look, oh yeah, there it is there. So if you use this URL, this takes you to a short video on how to use color codes, do a whole range of things in Google Drive to make your Google Drive experience easier, to make your finding of stuff a heck of a lot easier in Google Drive. Has anyone else got any questions?
Paul, here in Billawheeler,
Yep.
I've been using Google Drive on a bit, and I saved some assessment items early in term 1, and I went back to look for them in term 2, and they had actually gone to the junk box, the deleted box. Is there a reason why that is, or do they just do that after a while?
No, they should never go to the junk box. Look, all I could do, I mean, I'm hoping that at worst what's happened there is you've perhaps accidentally dragged them there.
Yeah.
But it's something that we would need to look into if it was happening regularly, because once they're in your Google Drive, that's where they stay. They
Yeah,
should
just
never
because-
ever go to junk or anywhere else unless into the bin, unless you put them there. Now, sometimes we
Yeah.
do that accidentally. If your computer's a bit laggy and you're dragging stuff around, that sometimes happens.
Okay, then, yeah, I wasn't too sure.
But it certainly shouldn't. But it was something I need to check when I'm up there later next month, and we can just go through and make sure there's nothing untoward happening.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, and the last thing, guys, is look, I've got no idea how it's gone other than the 2 questions. Obviously, the plan is to run about 4 more of these over the term, so I need to get some feedback. So there's 4 questions there on that form. It's 100% anonymous, but you do have to log in with your ROK credentials, otherwise it won't share with you. If you could take some time, please, to fill that in tonight, tomorrow, I would really appreciate that. As I said, it'll take you about 2 minutes to do, so that I've got something to work towards for the next one, to see how we've gone. So look, thanks for coming along. Obviously, you can contact me by email or phone at any time with any of your questions about Google Docs or anything. And yeah, I will see some of you in about 2 weeks' time when we do this again with computational thinking. So thanks for taking the time. I know an hour is a lot to give up when you're busy at school all day. So I appreciate the effort you've made. We had about 35 people who signed up. So I hope it's been worthwhile. If it hasn't, make sure you let me know in that form and we can make some changes for the next one. Don't forget, when you go this afternoon, can you please make sure that you turn your TV off. Don't turn the camera off. When you're finished, that should have that flashing ring of light at the top. So make sure you turn your TV off. You don't need to do anything with the camera. All right, thanks very much, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. I don't think it came. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Bye.
Oh, someone's left it on.